when there's a video coup in the country because it affects ordinary people and how sometimes it affects everybody. And I know for sure that video coup are no longer fashionable in Nigeria. In fact, it's almost impossible because we have a robust democracy. And not only that, I, that's my opinion about who I think it will set us back if there was one. So I know I'm reading it out completely. So it's just a look over our shoulder of our recent past.
And how did you put together the cast?
Well, normally the cast, the way I cast is that the material, the story itself, will suggest some people who match. I try to cast close to the character so to give the talent room to express themselves. So William Benson played the professor Adekunle, and then Mo Midada played Cordelia, and Yvonne played Adekunle's wife, which is Remy. So basically that's the bit. And then for Colonel Mwanzi Peters, Kepiepeyon played it.
And for how long was production?
Well, it's interesting because at first I thought, oh, this is going to be it's going to be a fast turnaround for me. But I've been on the film for the last 3 years. But now I'm happy that finally this is close to what I had in mind. And Nigerians are in for an entertaining time.
Yesterday you said something about how this film is totally different from all the things you've had in the past. What makes it very unique?
Usually, I express myself using my language, culture, and environment, usually. But this film has to be in English because of the national and international dimension. Which is, the language of the material is English, and then it's a national and international story. So people who are the Yoruba and Yoruba century say, oh my God, because I'm lucky. I'm lucky because I have a mass audience behind me and they are expecting always to experience Yoruba culture and richness of the language and all that. But again, they be compensated when they see Cordelia.
When is he hitting?
Cordelia is scheduled for release by Film One on July 18, so it's close. So to Yorubas, I say, you don't know. But everybody just watch out for this film. It's a film that everybody should see. Not only Nigerians, Africans, and of course, beyond Africa.
Once Cordelia hits cinema, it's catch on. What are you doing next?
Well, I have a series. I have, because the presentation of Cordelia is like a retrospective of my own life and career. So it's got to a point now where I'm beginning to think, all right, so what would I like to do for the rest of my working life? So Cordelia is going to launch this period in my long decades of career in filmmaking and storytelling. And so I want to do Agbakonili Tete, which is adaptation of Papa Kola Kiladi's several books. It's a detective story written across 5 or 6 books. Interestingly enough, he I've never, until I came across Kola Kiladi, that detective story can be written in Yoruba, and I can tell you it matches, in fact, compete with everything I've read, detective stories I've read in Yoruba literature. So after that, I think I'm going to do another adaptation from Horatio Nka's work, The Lion and the Jewel. It's going to be called CD, but I'm going to return it to where the source, where Professor Veronica got the story from. As I'm going to make it in Yoruba, the Yoruba version of The Lion and the Jewel. And after that, I want to do Ajatunde Kwaiku, which is another detective story written by Kelani before he passed on. And after that, I want to do an Ifa story. I'll get the title back to me. And it will come to me before we finish this time. I can give you a check. And then I have something that is very exciting, which is Alaba Hawaii. So Alaba Hawaii is it crosses. It's basically derived from, inspired by Ifa, the Yoruba knowledge system, literature, and everything. But the story is unusual because it crosses from this world into the other world, the other side. And before, I always put those things aside and don't do Fagua works because I thought that we didn't have either the technology or the manpower. But I'm sure we have enough tools now to attend that story. So I'm going to allow Hawaii. So those are, I've already mentioned about three, 4, 5 projects. And for me, my age is a race against time, but I pray I'm still alive to achieve all those, at least to show that why we should return to authentic African stories, because that is a treasure, and that is where we should be heading.
Many of your movie projects usually take time. And how do you cope with the pressures that come with it?
Well, it's I wish I could work regularly. As a matter of fact, I wish I could work every month. We have so much. Africa or Nigeria, we are so talented that our literary resource, which is our asset, our heritage, we haven't even touched anything. So I'm always excited to work, but the usual problems of funding and so on. But otherwise, I will work every day if I could. But as a matter of fact, I'm going to do web series now, so I think I'll be working very regularly because we have all the digital platforms accessible and available to us.
You're also somebody who has moved in time and not been left behind. I'm talking about the technological advancement that the industry has put on. What about how easy was it moving and evolving?
No, actually, it's not that easy. But as a matter of fact, who could stand in front of technology? In the early days when we worked on film, so I realized that today we have lost most of the film that Nigeria ever made because of the changing technology. And when it was time to take a decision during structural adjustment program, but around that time, when none of us could find the foreign exchange to work using traditional chemical process of making films, and video came in, I didn't hesitate. Some of my peers thought it was, to them, it was, how can you think of making a film with video? So they never made it, and today it's gone. But I am trained from London Film School, and that what matters is the story. I will pick up anything that comes along to tell the story. So I respond. In fact, today there's nobody, any filmmaker or creative worth his salt, that can afford to let technology. No, you have to be ready 24 hours to adapt to any technological change that comes along. So I just went from technology to technology. And it's instructive to know that from the time we started to adapt video to make films, the works I have done in mainframe production from Tioluwa until Anila are the films. Now I have a collection of films that I have made. And it was a struggle because if any technology comes, then all of them will be upgraded to the next one. We copy again to the next technology, copy again to the next technology. See, now where it got to a point where we have got to a point of no return, we will always be ready to go with the technology to continue to express ourselves. That we can never let go.
Somebody who is close to you once told me that he's always amazed at what TK does with his phone. And I'm wondering, how did you come up with all of that?
No, you see, the story of this technology in motion picture is the story of my life, because I started from rock bottom, from black and white celluloid 16 mil. And then I went to London Film School. They even started us from 8 mil, to the present day. And when I work in television, because I've always considered that my career started 55 years ago when I was employed as a trainee cameraman, film cameraman at the former Western Nigerian television. And the films we made was made for television. And television at that time was just this box, square box, and it was in black and white. And being a film buff, I've seen all the films, all the cinemas in Lagos. And then only after about 2 years, I realized, how can I be making my films in this box? And then it is black and white. It's not as wide as the film I saw in cinema. So I decided to go further, go to London Film School to take. As a matter of fact, look at, we are back onto almost where we started from. If perhaps smart TVs that wide, 16 by 9, was then, I probably would not have gone to film school. But in any case, all other things came in. For instance, look at telephones. In the 80s, I decided, I said, I won't get married until I got a phone. So finally, I got my phone in first time. And then after a while, I said, wow, I need an answering machine. So I added an answering machine. And after a while, I said, okay, there's a fax machine. I have to put fax machine. And then personal computers came. So immediately I went into a personal computer. I spent my money, Spectrum, Commodore 64, Atari, all these computers until I got an IBM Pro with a printer, dot matrix printer, making and then my landlord upstairs, if my printer is going, making those noise, I'm sure he thought I was printing money. So then something interesting happened to computers. And it was the day I saw an Atari computer, and they had put a sound card and graphic cards in the computer. I knew this is where motion picture was going. So, and we're here. So, got the first semi-non-linear editing system, which is computer-based. Since then you can imagine, internet came, and I quickly signed on to InfoWay, and we use dialogue to connect. And from that point, personal computers and everything, and before you knew it, Web 2, internet came. So we had to learn all the softwares and everything like that. There's no stopping to it. Now, you can imagine, from that point into web to social media, all this Instagram, TikTok, into artificial intelligence. I mean, it's been a lifetime, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I'm still learning. The idea is making a film. In this, what I'm doing is an opportunity for me to learn forever. But you can't stop learning. It's not possible. You have to continue to read, and practice all these technologies. And so it's a lifestyle. It's part of me. And I'm one of the luckiest people you can find in this world who are doing what they love doing and enjoying it. So that's how I see now. There's very big difference between work and personal. It's blood into each other. And I'm grateful to all the people who have stood by me, supported me, my family, my friends, my collaborators, my associates, my supporters, my benefactors, and what I've been doing. They are the only people that can I say, they are the only people that can tolerate me. And I've fallen down many times, and there are people who always just pull me up again and say, are you going to let that get you down? Come on, continue doing what you're doing. So I'm grateful to everybody.
And I was going to ask you that, how do you balance out your career and living a normal life in terms of doing everyday things? How do you create time for
It depends on what you mean by everything other people.
attending events?
I have little time because I'm engaged by learning, practicing, creating, producing. So just like creative, just like as you ask me the same question, why are you doing what you are doing? And I'm lucky because I have an audience base. Nigerians particularly have been so supportive that recognize me who is behind the scene, not in front of it. So in other words, I'm not a star, but they recognize that there's somebody who must be behind this. And so I'm grateful, ever grateful to the Nigerian audience.
Then there's also a TKU in terms of the way you dress. How did you evolve that?
Well, I'm Yoruba, and I'm grateful to God for making me Yoruba, because look at the geographical space of where I am. Look at between those are the fringe of the Sahara down to the forest area. You have hills, you have forests, you have rivers. In most of them, I even have 3 rivers that join together, and then all going towards the Lolumo Rock, towards the lagoon, and then into the Atlantic Ocean. That's not enough. The Nigerian, the people, they're so colorful, they are so expressive, they're happy people in all its diversity. There's only one thing I can do, to cry and document as possible and tell our stories, document our history, circumstances, our literature, and everything. And so, awareness in diversity and awareness in social political themes came to me early in life. So, when I make a film or do a story, it has to be that there's a bit of myself in it and my environment. So, and it's just not going to be entertainment for entertainment. There must be something to learn, something to take away. It's even just to suggest, because people don't like to be tutored or lectured or anything, just entertainment. But even in the entertainment, we have to pass on. Let's look at the challenges that I have. I could almost grab the young people and put them by ears. Are you blind? What are you doing? What stories are you telling? You are not asking questions. Why are we underdeveloped? Why we don't have good roads? Why is it we don't have hospitals? Why do they do? No, because the African filmmaker is imbued with certain responsibilities. And that's what I do.
I'll say that the evolution of the African filmmaker, which you've been part of, have you found it? Have you seen the stages that
when I met our uncles, the African filmmakers, they were preoccupied with getting independence from imperialists, getting independence from colonizers, and all that. And they were successful. But in our own time, when we have our own self-government, we realize that the government that people appointed are worse enemies. They are more enemies than the people we let go. So I think it just somehow I felt it. And then there's only one way to express myself, because there's freedom of expression and you have the tools of the means to do it. You know what it costs to make a film. And so that is around the thing. And I hope that all the other African filmmakers who are doing the same, or some of these young people who probably can perceive and take a stand.
Time you're going to come across young people who want to be like TK. What kind of advice do you give them? What the path for
My
them?
problem is that I don't want them to be like TK. I want them to be better than TK. You know, because they have everything to do. The time when I said that I got a phone, I said there are only 700,000 privileged people who had access to telephone. Now they carry one. Some of them have two. They have three. So sometimes I put to them, I made the documentary video that one. It was made with one Samsung and another phone. So I don't know. I think they need, I realize they need some new people because they have been brainwashed. Some of the Gen Zs also, they need an education in history and civil training and all that. Also, but why should they not be better than you? Because they have everything to climb the ladder and be successful.
Anytime we talk about film, we always talk about the truth. Are you saying that with the gadgets available now, you know, young people can still achieve or at least get started?
Well, they're already doing things because you find them on TikTok, you find them on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. Then what else? You know, they are armed already, and they are lucky because you can do a short form like this, and if it trends, you will have 1 million people watch it in maybe a day or two. So what else are they looking for? Imagine in our own time, you have to not only make the film, you have to give you what how we used to do. You first of all buy the film from abroad, then possibly you get some cameras and hire and shoot the film. You have to send it back to England to the process. And then you have to see the rushes and then you can send it back to us. Then we work on it, and when it's time to finish the film, we take it back to you. But now, this is now, you can do it, and the goal is an everything, and so on. So there's a lot of difference between then and now because there are tools, there are platforms. Even you can make a short film and start your own YouTube channel and self-publish. See, that is the advantages of the technology.
At the time you started, what was your passion? What did you see? What were you doing in that direction and not another direction?
No, what happened basically for me was a curiosity. My curiosity. Anytime I see an old newspaper, maybe a bed or so, I'm interested by how the Portugal got there. And so I ask now, in Yoruba, I'm telling you, I say one for photos. For a moment, I thought, yeah, I should have thought about that. And one day I tried it, put the newspaper in the bucket and put water in it. And then after about 2 days, the photo did not, it didn't work, it just stayed there. So that was my curiosity until a friend of mine, I saw a camera, first camera released for the first time. It had been opened.
What's your
That was 1950 something. Just before I left primary school in 1960. So I followed him around. I followed people he would let me and just handle this phone. Finally, I followed this phone. Then I realized his father was a photographer. And he allowed me to see the father's dark room. And what I saw blew my mind because they had an enlarger that was painting the photographs. But there was no electricity. So what they did was they built this enlarger close the window. So anytime there was daylight, the image negative is projected through through the enlarger into paper down there to produce an image. So his father came and then we talked and he showed me another brand new camera called Captain. And they were going to cost £1.50. So I said, I'm going to buy it. And then they laughed. I said, no, I'm going to buy it. You know, so I was in Adobe, my parents were in Togo, and my mother had a shop. So I wrote my cousin who helped my mother at the shop and said, Adio, please help me steal 1 shilling a day. You know, so when I went on holiday, that all that time, they had stolen only 5 minutes. And I was waiting for £1, 5 minutes or something. So I said, he didn't just steal anymore because my mother's business will collapse. So I forgot it. I said, I got admitted to the grammar school, where I bought my first camera. No, it was called a 127. It was plastic. That was the first camera that I bought. And I'm not going to tell you how I got the money before. So all that time, I started photography. Throughout my secondary school, I had 3 cameras maybe 4 times. In my final year at the grammar school in 1966, I bought my first semi-professional camera, the Halima 35X. It was a single lens reflex that was beginning for me as a photographer. So by the time I left in 1966, I just found I spent so much time and money learning and practicing photography. So there's only one thing I could do in my life, and then it's going to photography. So I got an apprentice at the Tunde Studios, and from there, I started by making pictures. So basically, that's my trajectory.
But that transition from photography to motion, what also triggered that?
You know, because already in Lagos, I had seen everything that came into Lagos. In a Vitamenta, where we live, most of the time, we had a gas cinema. We had Center Cinema, which I prefer. We had Odeon Cinema, we had Casino Cinema. In the neighborhood, without riding a car or anything, just walk. And if I wanted more, then we had towards Panzo, we had Rialto, and then we had Metro. The 2 cinemas, one slightly upper and one for common people. I've experienced all. In fact, in Central Cinema, if it's a good thing that you buy, like Planes or any of the Bond series, I think the JP was 1 something. But if you, there's very long queue, but you could pay extra, like 5 shillings to get into the reserved area. So normally I pay. If I pay it and go to the VIP, and then I jump the fence to the popular side. You know, so I've seen great films to inspire me. Lawrence of Arabia, Guns of Navarone, and Italian, all these things I've seen them. So that's where I was. So after about 1 year as an apprentice photographer, I saw an advert for training film cameraman in Western Nigerian television and applied. And so I walked into 17 WNBA, field of 146 Agodi for the first time in my life, and that's my life. Since then, I didn't look back.
And then working with WNBA, what was the next phase for the next?
WNBA made me and made from the partners because at that time, the Western region government not only started the television station, the first in Africa, but they got the best broadcast management brains. So I had great mentors who prepared me for professional career. And then we transferred me to the Lagos for 3 years, And that time I decided to go to London school, but I didn't have any scholarship, so I started to save. So to increase my salary, I joined NBCT and then saved the whole year. So my friends, but they were very close to me and supported me. At a point, before I left London school, I left my house and I was staying in single bedroom before I left for London. And at that time, I had paid 1 year of London school, and my father would have agreed to 2-year original diploma course that I could learn all I can in 1 year, just in case I couldn't continue. But NTA, later they became NTA and funded the second part of it. And I was on bond for them with 2 years. After that, I became independent.
Do you have any plans for retirement?
I'm 77, so I should have been on retirement. But I don't think clinical should retire.
Why?
Because I told you I'm just giving about 5 projects to do. Why are you asking me this question? If Oreshenka is still lecturing in Qatar at 91, so why are you talking to me like that? One of the greatest mentors that I've had, I'm privileged to sometimes be in his presence. And I've got great mentors. And that's the problem. The young generation, they don't think they need any mentor. They think they know anything. So,
Talking about your dress sense.
oh, yeah. You see, I could show you a picture of when I was younger, barely out of secondary school. I was wearing the usual that I wear. Because my sense of the comes from this side. I have an idea of what I should be wearing and when. And you have to maintain me by me using other people, and you have to have something of your Yorubaness in it. I won at the rate almost more than anybody else. We can do a competition on it. And my sandal is sewn with material, and I'm just happy expressing myself the way I feel. So that's probably because I could never be formal. That's my problem. There was a time in Nigeria when you couldn't even get a job if you didn't go with tie. No, I had only one. My father could only not. I didn't know how to do it. So he would do it, I would hand it. If I have an interview, I just put it on like that, and as soon as I get out of that, I just take it away from my head. So but after that I became slightly professional, I threw all that away. And said, no, if they won't take me like this, then I will gladly go away. So basically it's a function of me as a Yoruba, as an African. I may not have complied. Let me just tell you, I don't have an abada. I've never won anyone. Because I thought in my own way of thinking that the challenges of Africa is so great that we can't afford, we should be in shorts. That's what I felt, which I still feel. Because I think my own grace. And sometimes I'm telling you, I'm disappointed when the Pope died. And I found all the Nigerian delegates, everybody went to buy a suit. So we could even feel some of them that we just bought it. None of them was reflected where they came from. They reflected at the last minute to the anything else but Africans.